She gets the dress, he gets the rings. The party is going to be perfect. But what about the other P word?
Well, that P word is a prenuptial agreement. Just bringing up the subject can trigger bitter pre-wedding debates. And if approached right, a prenup can actually save heartache and maybe even save some cash a little later on.
We're here now with divorce and family lawyer Tom Petrelli with some hard-hitting facts about the importance of prenups if you're planning to marry. Now, Tom, welcome. First of all, let's start with Larry King. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's divorcing his 7th wife. He's worth a lot, and he doesn't have a prenup. How smart is that?
It's really amazing he doesn't have a prenup. I mean, he's been through this before, and from what I've heard and what I've read, he really thought this one was going to last. And as you can see, obviously, it doesn't always work out the way you think it would.
Yeah, so what's your take? Who should have a prenup?
I thoroughly believe that everybody should at least consider a prenup, if not have a prenup.
Even young people who don't have many assets?
Absolutely. People that are young, they don't know what's going to happen in the future. A lot of them go back to school, become doctors, nurses, lawyers, who knows. And you don't know what's going to happen in the end. So it's important to protect yourself. It's almost like an insurance policy. It can take some of the litigation costs out if it's done properly. It could also let you know exactly what's going to happen as far as what you're going to get. That way it's predetermined and you have a say what's going to happen.
So is trust and love thrown out the window here? I mean, some women might say, well, why do we need a prenup? I love you. Or some man might say,
he may say the same thing.
Exactly. Some man might say the same thing. I love you.
Well, it's just a mature way of going about it. I mean, people are just usually blinded by like the bliss of being in love, knowing they're getting engaged, knowing they're getting married. And this way they can sit down and actually have a realistic view of what they're doing, what's going to be the plan. It's planning out their future.
Okay, but what are the nuts and bolts of it? Give us a 1, 2, 3 about how to approach it.
Sure. What they should do is probably sit down. You don't want to be dramatic. You don't want to do anything that's going to be elongated. You want to sit down and say, hey, maybe we should think about our future. Maybe we should have a prenup. We should talk about what's going to happen if one party deceases before the other. That way, we know exactly what's going to happen, especially if it's a second marriage. If it's a second marriage, imagine being 60 years old and, you marry your husband and he has a house ahead of time, he has children, and the children are grown. He dies, there's no will. The children might step in and say, hey, we want you out. This is a way to protect yourself. That way, your wishes that you both sit down and decide are basically, agreed upon ahead of time.
Should this be brought up in counseling or just, between the two? Or?
No, it should be brought up between the two of you, outside of counseling, outside of lawyers. Sit down and just draft what your expectations are of what's going to happen in your life.
You know what, but I would think that a formula for that might be really difficult to come by. Are there websites or are there people you can talk to really come up with a basic formula so you know what you should be looking at specifically?
Sure, you can look on the web. There's lots of help with do-it-yourself websites out there that give you the nuts and bolts of things that you might want to put in there. You might have Eagles memorabilia that you want to keep separate. You might have anything. It could be a family inheritance. It could be a trust.
I think family inheritance is something I think really needs to be considered, and also if you have children from a previous marriage. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom.
Appreciate that. We're going to come back in just a little bit with a quick way to shape up for